All right. Happy Halloween.
You caught me. You beat me
Oh,
to
I
it.
beat you to it.
Happy
we
Halloween
can
and
start
happy
over.
cold weather
Oh
in,
my
well,
goodness.
for us in North Carolina.
Yes, it's cold. It's cold out here. So thank you so much for joining us on this cold Tuesday. We are here to talk about intrapreneurship and the lean startup methodology and how that can innovate your org's ability to, or your org's ability to innovate can be leveled up if you apply these two principles. So,
Yep.
Deanne, it's Tuesday. We've decided to do just what we perform or tasks we perform for our clients, which is consume feedback. And so, one of the things that we're looking to do moving forward is to see if shortening our sessions to about 25 to 30 minutes makes sense. So, I'm
Yes, we
excited
can.
to see what that does in terms of the feedback we get.
Yep.
So let's jump in and talk about entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
What is entrepreneurship?
So that's really taking that kind of the entrepreneur's innovative thinking, quick learning turnaround and bringing it to those larger, more mature organizations. I mean, that's how I look at it. It's we'll be talking about a lot of the benefits of it. I'm a huge fan, as you know, of kind of that lean startup methodology. No
Mhm.
matter what the size of your company is, you can always kind of breathe. I mean, really, it breathes new life sometimes into
Yeah.
your teams, into the ideas they generate. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think not everyone's cut out to be an entrepreneur. I think,
Yep.
we've demonstrated entrepreneurship in the way we work, but not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur. And some of us need the safety, the stability, the consistency of working within an organization, but that does not mean we should be any less enterprising. We should be any less innovative in how we show up and deliver at work. And so, entrepreneurship for me is a way in which we utilize those skills, but we utilize them within an organization. And it also becomes a part of your personal brand, which is of benefit outside of the organization and what you can do to carry that forward wherever you go.
Yep.
So when we think about entrepreneurship, it's beneficial to the employee, and so you're
Yes.
giving employees the room and the space to be innovative, and to you're giving them the support, which is really important. But if you think about the flip side of that, it provides the organization with opportunities to innovate,
Yes.
and to potentially or ideally stay ahead of the competition.
Oh, yes, absolutely. You're empowering your teams to think within the box in new ways or think outside the box. So there's no doubt it can lead to new revenue streams. I mean, I've been in situations where you're working on a product, and out of these kind of these lean sessions or lean experiments, all of a sudden you come across something maybe you
Mhm,
didn't even expect it to be as big as it was going to be. But
mhm.
and the people, your people, they are productive, they're innovative, they're engaged. I think that's really important. We all find ourselves kind of getting in the rut of, take requirements, develop, do
Mhm.
QA, get it out in market, do a usability test. So I think it's just a great way to empower your staff and
Mhm.
come up with. I think it's shocking how many people have really great ideas that don't require
Yeah.
you breaking the bank to figure out if they're viable, which we'll talk about the whole concept of MVP or MLP,
Mhm.
however you want to, and we'll talk about that one later. But it's a great way. You never know where it's going to come from. I've been on teams where you had the little quiet content writer who had an idea, and it's like,
Mhm.
let's do a quick test in 24 hours. See where this goes. But there are lots of ideas that you've just got to empower the
Right.
employees.
And I think when you apply the concept of entrepreneurship in the organization, there's two ways to look at it, at the macro level and the micro level. So I feel like the example you just provided was at the micro level of, I have an idea. I'm not typically the idea generator on the team. And
Mhm.
so I provide a way in which we can do things and an opportunity for us to test that idea. At the macro level, I think there's also opportunities. So we have that workshop exercise where we
Mhm.
take individuals through the process of figuring out your zone of genius. And when you look at your zone of genius, what are those things that you do better than anyone else, that people come to you for, that are almost effortless for you and that you could do in your sleep? When you think about bringing that or showing up and doing those things within the organization at a macro level, that is a brand that you
Yes.
convey to the organization. And in some cases, those micro ideas come out of that macro capability. So I think entrepreneurship is a really important characteristic of individuals, and allowing them to showcase that
Yes.
capability is really critical. And like you said, even the individual who typically doesn't lean in with ideas, giving them an opportunity to kind of drive what is next is really exciting, because that then makes them feel like they're a truly a integral part of the innovation within the organization, which again helps to boost their morale
Yes.
and make them feel like they're heard and seen in the organization.
Yep. Well, along the great ideas that may be revenue generators that they
That
may
are
come
revenue
up with.
generating.
So yeah,
Yes,
it's
yes.
definitely, I know we both have examples of being in organizations that were very mature, very successful.
Mhm.
And I think even in the newsletter we talk about the importance of this mindset to stay competitive, because there's so many new people coming out of the woodwork these days. You don't have to be one of the big guys to kind of get ahead and to um, get in the marketplace and be
Mhm.
competitive. And so your
Mhm.
competitors are probably doing it either because they are small startups or they've already embraced this idea. So it's
Right.
definitely a great way to stay competitive as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that example of your competition who may be smaller and have more agility in the way that they work, and they can pivot more easily.
Apps.
And bringing that sort of characteristic um, within the individuals, or embracing that characteristic of the individuals in your organization, can help you to attain some of that agility that you typically, as a bigger, more conservative, more established organization,
Yep.
may not currently have. So that's where you kind of think about it starting from the bottom up.
Yes.
And from the top down, what that means is that you're supporting your teams in terms of giving them the funding, the room to do or perform these types of things, or you allow them to inject this characteristic in the ideas that inform the solutions that are at play currently. So it's not always about spinning up a whole new offering. It might be the way in which you approach the current offerings that you have in your organization.
Oh, absolutely. And I know, I've seen, like, going back to the competition comment we were just mentioning. I've been on a team where it was part of a, sorry, it's cold and I'm getting a fly off static here. But where you're kind of the big boy in the room from a branding perspective, from an
Mhm,
organization well established. So
mhm,
I've gone in on teams where I watched that, behemoth get blown up by a
mhm.
nobody with 15 people on their team.
Right.
And it's because they had that, that competitor. This is how they worked. It's how they had to work. They
Mhm,
had to act fast. They had to leverage the ideas on the team. They had to distinguish themselves from, the more mature products out there to even compete. And in that case, that was kind of our light bulb moment, seeing
mhm,
that happen with like three or four competitors, and here we were, this big name, and all of a sudden lost all this market share, to
mhm.
the little guys. And it's, we ended up starting up, a little lean startup.
Within the
I think me and
organization.
revisiting. I think you're familiar with that story, very familiar.
Yeah.
But that's what we did, and really got it became that, we're gonna think differently. And I know we're gonna talk about it, but really important in that process, some of the challenges you might face in the bigger
Hmm.
organizations is, well, one, you really want it to be a cross-functional effort whenever it can be, to really act like that kind of startup, those entrepreneurs. That can be a challenge in many organizations. So, it may be, hey, can you spin off a little, your little innovation team
Hmm.
that's cross functional, or do you just figure out a way to pave the path for these cross functional teams to at least come together now and then? So,
Hmm.
that's been one of the challenges I've seen in those. Bigger organizations trying to shift gears and look like or act like or a startup. So
Hmm.
yeah,
And I'm just typing out
yeah,
what you're saying, because I think those are some real nuggets. Acting like a startup and ensuring you have that cross-functional team is really, really critical.
mhm,
We both have had lean startup training
yep,
years and years ago. And to this day, I think there's still a lot of benefit in those activities. I do see where there are benefits and areas that are not as beneficial in terms of leveraging that methodology. But let's talk a little bit about the lean startup methodology. And I think the best place to start is, especially coming out of UX, the concept of an MVP. And I like the way that things have evolved into an MLP, which is a
yes,
instead of a minimally viable or minimum viable product, it's about the minimum lovable.
yeah.
So you're looking for something that has a little more of a connection to your user and their goals and their needs. What do you think?
I'm really, really happy you brought this up. So, yeah, key to kind of the lean startup is that whole concept of MVP, right?
Hmm.
I think that can also be the challenge of what do you define that V as? Some people take that, oh, MVP means it's just minimal, put it out
Hmm.
there. Is it viable? AKA, is it lovable? In the end,
Hmm.
where users are going to use it, because sometimes getting something really good out there quickly, because you do want to get things out there quickly, right? So you can
Right.
continue to when they're viable. So I always tell people that is the key piece of this is you have to make sure what you're calling an MVP isn't just an MP, it is a
Right.
product. Um, so I've always seen that as a challenge because people get shocked. They go with what I call more of an MP, minimal
Hmm.
product, minimum product out there, and don't get why they're not able to build off of it. In the meantime, they've attracted, let's say, thousands of users to check it out, and
Hmm.
they've checked out. So it's got to be viable. It's really
Hmm.
got, and that's where when you're doing that testing, the lovable, the viable, you have to have some currency when
Hmm.
you're doing that testing to know that it's viable. Are they willing to give up something in that,
Hmm.
quick lean testing? That could be an email, it could be $1, it could be, signing up for this future beta and providing their phone number. Just indicating a strong interest. We even did things where we put test concepts out on a
Hmm.
website or even in a product that's kind of a cloud-based product, and looking at, hey, who wants to sign up? Oh, hey,
Right.
but this is going to be $5 more back to new revenue streams. We found things by putting the concept out there and saying, hey, for $5 more, do you want to sign up when X feature is ready? If you get a lot of people doing it, that's a form of currency, and maybe you're on the top.
Yes.
But then that iterative testing, and I could go on and on with this, and lean testing. So really, if you're going to be that startup mindset, quickness
Mm-hmm.
is good. Quickness in terms of getting that feedback and not being afraid of saying we failure. Fail fast. I tell everyone,
Right.
fail fast. It's okay to fail. At the right time, it's okay to fail. Maybe not $5 million in the development. So
Yeah,
anyway, I'm going
right.
to pass it off to you. I get
Well, I think that
excited
it's
on this one.
important to talk about the fail fast concept,
Yeah.
because that failure, there's a lot of lessons in that failure, and you get the rich data around what worked, what didn't work, how do we do things differently?
Yeah.
Are we focused on the wrong market, wrong solution, that sort of thing? So that's really, really important.
Yeah.
And when you think about the key to what you said in a bigger, more established organization is acting like a startup and having that perspective
Mhm.
injected into that startup team, where some of the concert of the bigger, more established organization may have to be kind of out the window for that smaller team,
Yeah.
so that they can experiment, so that they can come back and use that data to figure out, are we going in the right direction or not?
Mhm.
And again, it goes back to your entrepreneurs. It goes back to those individuals that are capable of having that perspective, which when we get inside of an organization, many of us can get comfortable and we forget what it's like to be scrappy, to be
Scrappy.
flexible around things that go outside of the current methods we're using. And so that's a really key point. And I think that when you look at the experience we have in UX
Mhm.
around the way in which we test concepts, we, have some concepts, we validate them, and then we decide some of it has to be tossed and redone and retested. When you look at that kind of operational method or
Mhm.
mechanism, it's very similar to what we're talking about.
It,
That's why you're well suited to have individuals on that lean team employing those methods to be individuals in your UX organization.
yeah, and I'm glad you pointed that out because, when I first started really looking at lean methodologies, coming from, think about what the user centered design methodologies
Mhm.
in the day you talked about. Really, your goal, even way back when, was to have more of that lean approach. It's
Yeah.
iterative. You do it early, you do it often. You do it early, you do
Mhm.
it often. I think the whole lean piece really makes you hone in on getting it out there quickly, finding those scrappy methods of doing that testing, being a little more focused on that currency piece than maybe
Mhm.
in more traditional UCD type of activities.
Mhm. That's a good point.
Really, it's not just what they say. Are they willing to give up something, to make we should keep going, or no, we
Mhm.
need to pivot. That's another really big one. Is part of lean testing is making that decision.
Mhm.
Do you continue? Do you pivot or do you abandon? Going back to the fail fast
Mhm.
concept, but
And I think that's where behavioral science comes in, and you think about how the potential currency and what I, as a consumer, am willing to give you, that is the behavioral indication that I am interested, I am willing, I am committed,
yeah,
and that's what you're looking for.
it
And
is. Yeah, it's not the oh, I like that. Oh, I
correct.
give that a good rating, because I think we all know in general, users often or people you're testing with, they often say, "Yeah, I want that. Yeah,
Oh,
I like
sure.
that."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in the end, no one will buy it,
Yeah.
or no one will actually use it. So that's why that currency is so
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, like I said, we promised to cut things shorter than usual. We want to see, is there an appetite for us to bring you content in like 20 to 25 minutes? Again, entrepreneurship is so, so important within your organization. Identify those folks who live in that zone of wanting to do things with more agility, applying experimentation methods like this lean startup methodology. And if you have any questions for us about this topic, or you have specific topics you want to see from us, please leave your comments on the video, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Have an awesome Halloween.
Bye. Yeah.